From homeless black man to millionaire, a story that even Donald Trump and Elon Musk would notice. Nobody saw it coming. A homeless black man with ragged clothes and tired eyes, sleeping on the cold sidewalk under bitter city rain, alone. Then, suddenly, he's a millionaire! Not just any millionaire, but one whose name echoes in the halls of power, stirring whispers, even in the offices of Donald Trump and Elon Musk. How? Where? Why? The city buzzed with rumors like wildfire, but no one had a clue what really happened. On a crowded street corner, the scent of fresh coffee cut through the chilling air, mixing with the loud calls of street vendors, hawking everything from spicy tacos to knockoff tech gadgets. The city's heartbeat was deafening, alive with every shove, shout, and honking horn. In the middle of all this chaos, a quietly exhausted man moved through the crowds, blending in with cracked shoes and a worn jacket. Who he was could twist your mind, because in his eyes, yes, the Elon Musk, but not the one flashing on magazine covers or teasing rocket launches on Twitter. This Elon was raw, dragged down by the weight of a world that expected godlike brilliance from a billionaire. He was tired of the luxury, tired of the applause that felt like chains, tired of being a puppet in a circus he built himself. So, Tesla stores and flashy events were left behind. Today, he worked undercover as a humble sales clerk in his own tech shop, where no one recognized him and no one cared about his net worth. His mission? To hear real voices, to touch real lives, to soak in perspectives swirling beyond the sterile boardrooms. Yet, even as he scanned cracked smartphones and quirky customers, a sudden hush fell when a weathered elderly man shuffled in. His skin was a roadmap of years in the sun. His eyes? Icy sharp, holding secrets like grim treasures. Ever heard about a stolen tech project tied to a former president? The old man whispered, voice cracking like dry earth. Elon's heart slammed against his ribs. The man leaned closer. Decades back, they ripped off something dangerous, something that could unravel everything we know. That quiet moment burst with electric dread. Who was this old man? What darkness lurked in these shadows? Elon's hands trembled, sweat prickling his throat. Questions gnawed at his mind like hungry rats. Was this just a crazy tale, or the key to a silence spread across centuries? Suddenly, a small folded note slipped onto the counter. Musk unfolded it. The message was chilling, sharp as broken glass. Stop digging, or else. The cafe's chatter dimmed around him. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows down the busy street. Elon's world tilted. Danger wasn't just distant, it was creeping in. People passed, oblivious. But for him, everything had shifted. A fierce, raw fight ignited inside. Should he dig into the dark, risking it all, or bury this secret to save himself? The city never stopped moving. Cars roared. Laughter pealed, and somewhere a dog barked sharply. Meanwhile, Elon faced the deepest crossroads of his life. His mask worn thin, his truth hanging by a thread. What would he choose? Exposure or silence? Truth or safety? And what price would his soul pay? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like that really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Elon felt the weight of the note in his hand, heart thundering as chaos screamed around him. The vibrant life of the city faded, leaving only the thudding pulse of his fear. Who was this man, and what had he just unearthed? With the sun dipping low, shadows stretched longer, swirling like whispers of danger. Then a commotion erupted. A loud crash shattered the air. He recognized that voice. It belonged to a powerful figure from his life as a billionaire, one he thought he'd left behind. In an instant, the old man's warning echoed in his mind. Stop digging or else. Panic surged. A group of men, clad in dark suits, spilled out from the vehicle, their faces grim and eyes scanning the crowd. They moved like wolves, focused, hungry. Elon's breath hitched as he wrestled with the choice laid out before him. Before he could think, the men lunged toward the shop, all intent. He pushed the folded note deep into his pocket, heart racing. Why now? Just moments ago, he was a someone on the brink of discovery, and in an instant, he felt the world jerk. "Walk away!" shouted a vendor near him, his voice laced with fear, eyes darting as he backed away. The panic spread like smoke, curling into the crowd. People whispered and shuffled, eager to avoid the storm brewing. Elon stepped back, drawn like a moth to a flame. Those men weren't here for the coffee or tech. They were after secrets, his secrets. Suddenly, the elderly man stood beside him, eyes wide and terrified. "They can't find you!" "Who are they?" Elon demanded, urgency climbing like fire through his veins. The man's lips trembled. "Enemies," he breathed. "They don't want the truth to see daylight." Thunder rolled above, and the clouds darkened. As the suited men neared, Elon stumbled. An electric jolt ran through him, a sense of déjà vu he couldn't shake. He saw a reflection in a nearby store's glass, a man in the crowd, one he hadn't noticed before. A fleeting glimpse of wild eyes, a knowing smirk that chilled him to the core. "Get out of here!" the old man insisted, grabbing Elon's wrist. But it felt heavier. 1,000 untold stories clung to him. A smirk lingered in his mind. Who was that figure? What did he know? Suddenly, a shout pierced through the sound of chaos. "Elon Musk!" One of the suit-clad men called, voice smooth as ice. "We know where you've been and where you're going. Don't think you can run." Time slowed. Tension spiraled. The world blurred. And all Elon could see was the weight of every choice he'd made pressing down. Behind him, the old man was frozen in fear, whispering things Elon couldn't quite process, words blending into a muffled roar. In that moment, doubt flooded him. This was no ordinary dig. It was life or death. What had he uncovered? The truth mattered, but so did his life. As screams echoed around him and the figures closed in, Elon realized he didn't have just a choice. He had a reckoning that would shift everything. Desperation clawed at him. Was the key to freedom within reach, or was danger just a grip away? The city throbbed, blind to the storm gathering around one man's decision. What would he uncover, and at what cost? The city's buzz felt muffled now, like a heavy blanket over his racing thoughts. Elon's grip tightened around the note, heart pounding against his chest. The words, "Stop digging or else," burned into his mind. He looked up, scanning the cafe for the old man. But he was gone, evaporated into the crowd like smoke. Panic coursed through him, electrifying every nerve. He took a breath, trying to calm the storm inside. But before he could think it through, a loud crash rang out from the opposite end of the street. A black sedan swerved, tires screeching like a banshee, before colliding with a lamppost. Metal crunched, glass shattered, and shoppers froze in shock. Elon felt a jolt in his gut. He stepped outside, curiosity pulling him out into the chaos. Was this connected? He pushed through the crowd, eyes darting. Paramedics rushed forward, sirens blaring as they tended to the driver. A woman trapped behind the wheel. But something else caught his eye. Nearby, a figure, a tall man in a dark coat, stood with unmistakable control amidst the panic. He was staring straight at Elon, and his face, it twisted familiarity and dread together. It was someone he thought he'd never see again, the face of his childhood mentor, the one who vanished without a trace years ago, leaving a gaping hole in his life. "Elon!" the man shouted, voice cutting through the clamor. The crowd shifted. People looked. "Elon?" Some murmured, confused. Terror welled up. How could he be here now, in this moment? The chaos around them faded. The man strode closer, his presence slicing through the noise. "Stop!" The voice was sharp, urgent. "You have to listen to me." Elon's mind raced. Did he know about the old man's warning? The secrets? "What are you doing here?" His throat felt tight. The connection between them layered with years of unanswered questions. "Your life is at risk. They know you're investigating," he said, glancing over his shoulder, as if shadows were watching. "You need to get out of here. Now." "What do you mean?" Panic clawed at Elon's throat. "Who's after me?" "It's bigger than you think. The tech project. It ties back to people at the top." His voice dropped, barely above a whisper. "This isn't just about money. It's about power. Real power. You can't let them find out what you know." A knot twisted in Elon's stomach. One moment, he was blending into the crowd, observing. And now, he was entangled in something vast and dark. But then, a sickening thud shattered the moment. The paramedics had collided with a gurney, and from it, a small figure erupted. A girl, no older than 10, ran away, tears streaming, her tiny hands clutching something shiny. "Elon, look out!" The man's voice rang in alarm. Before he could react, the girl sprinted past, holding what looked like a fragment of a tech device, a microprocessor, glinting with potential danger. Instinctively, Elon reached out, trying to stop her, but she slipped through the throng, disappearing into the mass of moving bodies. Caught off guard, he turned back, searching the tall man's gaze. But he was gone, vanished among the stunned onlookers. Everything spiraled. The crashing of the car, the girl's frantic escape, the danger creeping into his life. It all coalesced into a singular moment of dread. The air felt thick, the city's heart racing, and everything he thought he knew hung by a thread. What was happening? Who could he trust? Elon felt a tremor in his hands, heart racing, as he stood alone amid the chaos, searching for answers in a sea of questions. Would he go after the girl, or heed the warning and desaparecer into the night? Before him lay a decisión que podía romperlo todo. Elon fingió en el medio del caos, su corazón que racía como un trenca reventado. La ciudad morfándose alrededor de él, blende el miedo y la urgencia, los clavos de alarma pulsándose entre la multitud. Se levantó vertiente, trying to shake off the shock, searching for claridad en una fuerte de la cuna. ¿Dónde se ha ido el capatito? Dente de nada, un desplome, tas balas entre los panaquitos. Una segunda figura emergió, esta familiar, la tuescente del memorio. Era su hermano Derek, alguien que no había visto en años. Derek's cara era una mezcla de desesperación y urgencia. Ojos grandes con un miedo de Elon solo han visto en las pesadillas. Elon, you need to come with me, Derek shouted, cutting through the crowd, stumbling over chaos. They're coming for you, everyone you care about. What do you mean? What's going on? Elon's voice was thick, panic clinging to every word. He barely recognized his brother. The years had changed Derek, left shadows on his face. There was something raw about him now, something broken. Just trust me. Derek's voice cracked like glass, his tension splintering in the air. They're not who they say they are. Just like the old man. He knew things, dangerous things. And you're in the middle of it. Fear prickled down Elon's spine. He had barely grasped the weight of the old man's warning when everything crumbled around him. The girl she had? Forget the girl! This goes deeper! Derek cut him off, almost pleading. His eyes flicked back to where the men had been, their shadows lingering like dark thunderclouds. We don't have time! All at once, it clicked. Derek was not just here by chance. He was drawn into this mess, linked to whatever shadows loomed over Elon's life. Memories rushed back, moments of betrayal. Elon spat, the words tasting bitter. You just appeared out of nowhere after all these years. I'm trying to help, Derek shouted, desperation creeping in. But there was something else in his eyes, something hidden, like a looming storm. I can explain everything, but we have to move, now! Before Elon could respond, the ground shook. The city erupted with noise as that same sleek black car roared back into view, tires screeching and metal whirring threateningly. The dark-suited men climbed out, faces set, eyes scanning the street for his first sign of panic. Elon! Derek's voice cut through, frantic. They'll find us! We're not safe here! Elon's heart raced. The urgency of the moment sunk cada. But then something shifted. It wasn't just fear coursing through him. Deep down, a flicker of betrayal ignited. Could he trust Derek? Was there a thread of truth behind his panic, or just the familiar scent of old lies? Suddenly, darkness swept in. A loud bang struck like thunder, voice cracking through the air. A shot rang out, sharp, brutal, echoing through pavement and steel. The crowd gasped, stunned, bodies jerking back. Elon turned to see a woman, one of the paramedics, stumbling, clutching her side, drenched in crimson. Panic exploded, a tidal wave crashing over everyone. Shouts and screams cut through the air, confusion reigniting the city's pulse into frenzied chaos. Faces turned from shock to horror, a collective gasp rising like smoke. "Get down!" Derek shouted, pulling Elon into the shadows of a nearby storefront. Just as they ducked away, a second shot rang out, narrowly missing them. Elon's breath quickened. He looked at Derek, eyes filled with questions. Questions that spun like a cyclone in his mind. Who was after him? Why was Derek here now? And was he truly there to protect him? Or was he a part of this twisted web? His world felt upside down, blue skies giving way to storm clouds. The weight of every decision he hadn't made crushed him. In the midst of fear and madness, one thought bubbled to the surface. What if his own family was tied to this darkness? An overwhelming wave of uncertainty hit. Everything he knew, everything he believed, spun wildly as another shot rang out, echoing down the street. As shouts filled the air, one question loomed larger than the chaos. Who could you trust when the true threat was so close to home? Elon's heart raced. The note burned a hole in his pocket, heavy with a weight he never wanted. Around him, the chatter buzzed, carefree oblivion to the storm brewing. The cafe seemed smaller, walls closing in as he shuffled between the worn tables where laughter had once sounded like home. The old man's figure loomed large in his mind. Distrust thrummed beneath his skin. He looked around. The lively scene now felt shrouded in an icy quiet. What could all this mean? Danger loomed, but it was a different kind of danger, creeping closer. Outside, rain tapped insistently against the windows, a soft reminder of the world, outside the moment. Musk tucked the note deeper into his jacket, heartbeat pounding like a drum. He had to know if this man's story was true. He stepped outside, the air sharp and biting, the city still alive with its cacophony. Suddenly, a cry pierced the noise, a horrified scream. Heads turned, jaws dropped, and the world stood still. Right at the corner, a woman dropped her grocery bags. Apples rolled down the sidewalk, red against gray concrete. The sound of shattering glass echoed as nearby windows rattled. Elon pushed through the crowd, forming like a wave. He reached the gathering, heart hammering, breath quickening. In the center of it all was the old man, twisted on the ground, eyes wide with fear. And something glinted in the dim light, silver, sharp, unmistakable. A knife, slick with crimson, lay beside him. Pandemonium explode. People gaspó, ferviente en sus ojos. The murmurs spread, morphing into caóticos sueños. What happened? Did he? A woman cried. Someone call an ambulance, a man shouted. Elon nielto beside el mano, Jandes tremendo. His eyes locked on the old man's face. What's going on? He whispered, but no response came. The old man's body seized, a final gasp cutting through the chaos. In that moment, the world blurred. Time slowed. It felt unreal, as if the universe had flipped on its axis. Then, in the thrumming silence following that shocking gasp, something gripped Elon's throat. A realization that felt icy and electric. The old man's hand, still warm, clutched a small device, one that resembled a thumb drive. "Get back!" A police officer pushed through the throng, shielding the scene, his voice slicing through the tension. Elon's thoughts raced. The secret? Was this connected to the stolen tech project? Panic coursed through him as hands reached for the device. Suddenly, a flash of uniforms. The news crews arrived. Bright lights illuminating the dim street. Cameras zoomed in, faces turned to stare. Whispers flew like arrows. Was he a witness? A player in this game? The note burned deeper into his pocket. Suddenly, from behind him, a voice called out. You were the last one with him." Elon's head snapped back. The world blurred. Would they see him as he really was? Just a sales clerk? Or something more? All eyes were on him. The crowd buzzed with whispers. Where had this old man come from? Why did he die? What did the device hold? Questions collided in his mind, and then, through the confusion, he saw it, a flicker. A figure watching from afar, hidden just outside the warmth of chaotic humanity. A familiar face, one he'd never expected. Elon's breath hitched in his throat. Everything crystallized. This was bigger than just him, bigger than secrets. A web of deception spun around him. Who was pulling the strings? Could he trust anyone? The city buzzed about him. But he felt isolated in a storm of uncertainty. He took a step back, the weight on his chest heavier than ever. The chase for truth had just begun, but what did that mean now? As the darkness gathered in the corners of his mind, he understood one thing. He'd need allies, fast. But who could he trust? With minds watching and goals hidden, his next move would define everything. Elon stood frozen, the note still crumpled in his hand. The world around him blurred, the laughter and chatter fading away. His heart raced as he glanced around. The cafe felt smaller, tighter. A shadow lingered in the corner of his vision. He turned slowly. The elderly man, with years etched into his skin, was now staring straight at him, a deep frown cutting through his weathered face. There was something intensely sharp about his gaze. It pierced through the noise, loading the air with unspoken tension. Suddenly, without warning, a loud crash echoed from outside. A bus had jumped the curb, barreling toward the crowded street. People screamed, scattering like startled pigeons. Elon's instincts kicked in. He ducked behind the counter. He'd seen chaos on the news, but this was real. The old man's expression didn't change. He remained locked in, eyes focused on Elon. "What's happening?" Elon shouted, peering over the counter as the scene unfolded. "Something bigger than you know," the old man responded, urgency rising in his cracked voice. But just as he spoke, lights dimmed, then went out. The sudden darkness clawed at Elon's chest. He fumbled his way out from behind the counter. Outside, he could barely grasp what was unfolding. The front of the cafe was shattered glass and panicking bodies. Screams filled the air, a symphony of terror. A figure moved, darting past the chaos. It came closer, drawing Elon's attention. "Get back!" he yelled, instinct urging him to protect. But the figure stopped, revealing a familiar face. It was not just anyone. It was his brother. Standing in front of him, eyes wide, a hint of betrayal shadowing his expression. "Why are you here?" Elon gasped, feeling a mix of disbelief and dread. "Because you're in danger," his brother shouted back, the urgency evident. "They're coming for you now!" What did he mean? Elon's mind raced. What the hell is going on? "Leave the city! It's not safe!" Frantic, his brother fought through the crowd, gripping Elon's arm tightly. The old man watched, but now his eyes glimmered with something darker, a knowing dread. As the chaos swirled, the old man took a step forward, shaking his head slowly. "You need to know the truth, Elon. It's not just about you. It's about your family. Your inheritance isn't what you think it is." Elon felt sick. Inheritance? What family secrets lurked behind those words? He had always viewed himself as self-made, crafting his life from the ground up. But now, shadows emerged from the edges of his mind, whispering of connections he had ignored. He felt a tightness in his throat. A massive shadow loomed over the cafe, and deep rumbling, terrifyingly familiar, pulsed through the chaos. A black van, sleek and ominous, rolled into view. Windows tinted darker than night. Panic gripped the crowd tighter. The rear doors flung open. Men in suits and sunglasses flooded out, eyes scanning for Elon. "Run!" his brother shouted, pulling at Elon's arm. The old man stepped back, a smirk creeping across his lips, as if he was relishing the moment. "Stop!" Elon yelled, torn, rooted in place. Everything he thought he knew was unraveling. His family, the tech project, and now this impending threat? He looked at the chaos around him. Faces panicked, the sirens wailing louder and louder. "What do you mean, my inheritance?" he demanded, heart racing, mind spinning. But his brother didn't answer as he dragged him toward a side alley, away from danger, away from the truth. As they neared a dark, narrow street, a figure emerged from the shadows, a woman, fierce and determined, her eyes locking on to Elon. "You need to come with me. There isn't much time." Elon stopped. The frantic noises faded behind him. A gust of wind sent shivers down his spine. Who was she, and what did she know? This was his chance, but was it safe? Questions lingered in the air, unanswered, as he stood on the precipice of a darkness he never saw coming. Elon stood frozen, the chilling note trembling in his hand. His heart raced, a wild drum echoing in his ears. The whispers of the old man lingered like a ghost, leaving a thick fog of dread hanging in the air. Stop digging, or else. It seemed simple enough, but on the street where truth and lies danced in the shadows, nothing felt straightforward. People passed, oblivious to the storms swirling inside him. He glanced up, searching the crowd for faces, for anyone who could help him make sense of this. The chatter resumed its chaotic rhythm. Cars honked, and the smell of food flared through the air like a warm hug. But for Elon, it all felt suffocating now. Suddenly, a commotion ripped through the crowd. A scream. A woman's voice filled with terror sliced through the noise. "Help! No, please!" The words echoed like gunshots. His instincts kicked in. Without thinking, he shoved the note into his pocket and rushed toward the sound. As he pushed through the crowd, panic surged. A knot tightened in his throat. A small group had gathered at the edge of the cafe, voices raised, bodies pressed together like sardines. He squeezed past, breath catching when he saw what lay at the center. A young girl, no older than 10, lay sprawled on the ground, her chest rising and falling too fast, eyes wide, filled with a fear that no child should ever know. His first instinct was to kneel beside her, but before he could act, 2 men in dark suits burst from the throng. They moved like shadows, commanding authority that sent chills racing down his spine. One of them leaned close to the girl, whispering harshly. "Where is it?" he demanded, eyes blazing with anger. The girl shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I don't have it! Please, don't hurt me!" Elon's pulse quickened. Something dark and twisted was happening right here, right now. The words of the old man echoed in his mind. Something could unravel everything we know. Was it the same threat? Was this related to the danger he faced? He had to act. But what could he do? He wasn't a hero. He was just a man hiding from his own life. Still, adrenaline surged through him. Thinking of the note, he reached for his phone, thinking of calling for help. But before he could pull it out, a loud sound sliced through the air. An explosion of energy. A bright flash lighting up the corner of his eye. Then chaos erupted. A car sped down the street, tires screeching, and slammed into a nearby vendor's cart, sending metal and fruit flying. The crowd screamed, scattering like leaves caught in a storm. Panic rippled through the air, faces twisted in fear. But in that moment, everything shifted. The 2 men glanced at each other, their fierce expressions turning into masks of confusion. "Get it!" one barked, suddenly on the move, pushing through scattering people. But before they could reach the girl, Elon saw her expression change. The fear faded, and something else emerged, a fierce resolve. She wrenched free from the man's grasp, ignoring their shouts. She bent down, pulling something shiny from under her jacket, fingers brushing past something small but potent. Elon's eyes widened. He realized just how deeply this little girl was tied to everything. The whispers, the threats, the shadows that lingered around them all. She wasn't just a victim. She was the key in a game he had barely begun to understand. "What are you doing?" he shouted. But the words were swallowed by the chaos. As she held the object high, glinting in the fading daylight, a new kind of fear washed over him. What happens now? What had he just stumbled into? And could they all get out alive? Elon stood frozen, the glint of the device held high by the girl, illuminating a moment of truth that sparked fear and curiosity in equal measure. The commotion around him thickened, chaotic energy radiating like static through the air. The 2 men in suits looked stunned. For a split second, their focus shifting from the girl to the device she clutched. "Drop it!" one man shouted. His voice sliced through the chaos, laced with urgency and fear. But the girl didn't waver. She held it tighter, fear flickering in her eyes yet overshadowed by determination. "You can't take it! You're lying!" Her voice quaked, but there was a fire in her, courage that most adults would envy. "Elon!" Derek's voice broke through, a thread of panic laced with insistence. "Get her out of here, now!" Elon's heart pounded, desperation clenched at his chest. He didn't even know who she was, just a scared child caught in a nightmare. Before he could think, the world echoed with a thunderous sound. A shot rang out, and time stuttered. Everyone's heads turned. A woman in the crowd fell, her scream severing the air. Panic turned to chaos as bodies surged in every direction, shields of fear erupting like a tidal wave. "Elon, move!" Derek yelled again, grabbing his brother's arm, his grip tight and frantic. But in the frenzy, everything seemed to freeze. The girl, still clutching the device, coiled back in slow motion. Another gunshot echoed, sharp and brutal. This time, it wasn't directed at her, but at the men in suits who ducked for cover. "Get down!" someone shouted, as people scrambled, ducking behind any cover they could find. Elon could only watch, barely comprehending. From behind one of the vendor's stalls, a figure emerged. A flash of black hair and piercing blue eyes. Derek's girlfriend, Maya. "Over here!" she screamed, waving. "Come with me!" Shock muted his senses, but instinct took over. He glanced at the girl, still frozen, and in that split second, he felt a tug deep within him, a pull towards something irrevocably destructive, something he couldn't escape. As he turned to dart for Maya, he noticed something. The girl had dropped the device. It caught the light, glinting ominously before hitting the pavement. A flicker of understanding crossed her face. A surge of horror mixed with regret. "No! Get it!" Suddenly, the world spun. Derek grabbed Elon's arm, but he was drawn back toward the device, his curiosity igniting. A sharp pain shot through his chest. His hands trembled as he reached for it. "What are you doing?" Derek pulled harder. "We need to go!" But then, an ear-splitting bang erupted. The building behind them exploded into clouds of dust and debris. Elon gasped, falling backward, his vision clouded with a haze of darkness. Time wavered. Fear struck as he crawled back to where he had seen the girl only moments ago. But she was gone. The chaos swallowed her whole, and all that was left was the heavy silence of loss. Where is she? Panic swelled in Elon's chest. The dust settled, revealing stunned faces all around. Horror danced across those who survived. Some shouted, while others cried out in despair, glancing fearfully at the sprawling destruction. But one thing cut through the noise. A dark figure walking calmly through the wreckage. It was an unexpected sight. The woman he thought was an ally, the one who had disappeared in the alley moments ago. Now stepping from the smoke, she was wearing a suit, a wicked smile curling on her lips, eyes glimmering with a knowing gleam. "Elon," she said, her voice smooth, echoing through the chaos. An unsettling familiarity crept over him. "Do you finally see?" Everything shifted beneath him. She knew his name. A part of him felt betrayed, the pieces of his reality fracturing. What in the world was happening? Elon felt something twist deep within, like the earth shaking beneath a storm. The weight of truth pulled him under, thrumming like a pulse in the distance. What if everything was different? What if she was not who she seemed? He quickly turned back to Derek. What did she mean? "Do you know her?" But Derek's face was pale, eyes reflecting a horror that seeped into the air like poison. "What have you done?" he whispered, shaking his head, fear creeping over his features. And in that moment, the ground felt unsteady. The very foundations of everything Elon thought he knew began to crumble as a numbing realization set in. The web was spinning tighter, and the truth was far darker than even he could imagine. Questions raced through his mind, colliding with darkness as the woman's smile deepened. What would they uncover? Would any of them escape the truth alive? Elon stood frozen, the chilling note trembling in his hand. His heart raced, a wild drum echoing in his ears. The whispers of the old man lingered like a ghost, leaving a thick fog of dread hanging in the air. Stop digging, or else. It seemed straightforward, but in this moment, everything felt complicated, each second stretching into eternity. The dark-suited woman stepped closer, an unsettling smile curling her lips, her eyes glimmering with something elusive. "Elon," she said. The word dripped with familiarity in a way that sent ice running down his spine. "Do you finally see?" For a heartbeat, he felt the weight of her gaze, as if she were peeling back layers of his soul, exposing every fear and insecurity. Derek, breathless beside him, clutched his arm tighter, his knuckles white. The panic in his eyes mirrored Elon's growing unease. But before they could process the gravity of that moment, everything shifted again. With a deafening crash, the ground shook beneath them. Bodies toppled, screams erupted. The destruction was sudden, explosive. A massive billboard overhead fell, bursting apart like glass, fragments raining down. People scrambled, panic turning the scene into chaos. "Elon, move!" Derek shouted, urging him away. But he was locked in place, eyes wide. Through the cloud of dust, a figure emerged, eyes glinting with malice. 'Twas an unmistakable face, an old friend turned foe. Caleb, a man battling shadows like him, but with a hunger for power behind his smile. "Elon," he called, voice dripping with mock sincerity. "You haven't changed a bit." The world dimmed around Elon. "Caleb?" How was he involved? Terror clawed at his throat. "Do you see, you fool?" Caleb laughed, the sound echoing in the chaos. "The truth is much bigger." The sinister tones wrapped around Elon, squeezing tighter. "They've been watching you, Dick D. All this time, you think you're special? No, you're just a pawn in a much larger game." Derek tugged at Elon's arm, fear leaking into his voice. "We need to go, now." But the twist, the crushing weight of Caleb's revelation, dropped like a heavy stone. With every heartbeat, Elon sifted through a cacophony of thoughts. Questions slammed into each other. Was this why his brother was so anxious? Were they holding back truths that would change everything? A sharp shout pulled him back. "The device! Get it now!" That girl, she had given him a chance. But where was she? In a flash of movement, a blur darted past, small and fierce. She reappeared, racing through the swirling chaos, a thin thread of light in the dark. "Elon!" she cried, clutching something glowing and intense. "You need this." He didn't hesitate. Instinct kicked in. The chaos was a dark ocean, and he needed a lifeline. With determined strides, he pushed through the sea of scrambling bodies, reaching for the girl. But before he could grasp her hand, Caleb stepped in. Not so fast! He lunged, grabbing her collar, flipping her back like a rag doll. The game ends here. No, Elon shouted, heart hammering, but it felt miles away. Then everything shattered. Caleb released a deafening roar. The ground trembled again beneath the weight of power shifting. The girl's voice pierced through the air. Only you can unravel it, Elon. Don't let them take me. In that moment, where fear mixed with desperation, a truth unfurled. All at once, he understood. This fight was not just about survival, it was about unveiling layers of deception. And at the center of it all, a tangled heritage. Come to me, Caleb smirked, arrogance filling the air as he tightened his grip on the girl. It's in your blood. You have no choice. A surge of realization hit Elon like a freight train. His heart raced, the truth laying bare in the chaos around him. Family secrets? A legacy intertwined with power and betrayal? If he didn't act now, everything would slip away. Elon, now! Derek called, desperation etched in his voice, fear spilling over. The chaos blurred into a rush. Would he save the girl? Or was there something darker tangled where his family roots lay? The moment hung heavy in the air, and Elon took a breath, feeling the weight of his destiny coil about him. As he lunged toward Caleb, everything unraveled beneath the surface, threatening to drown him. Was his own blood not just a bond, but a curse? Would the truth liberate him? Or was it the start of a nightmare that would consume them all? Elon lunged at Caleb, adrenaline coursing through his veins. Every heartbeat pulsed with urgency, a desperate need to protect the girl, to reclaim the device that held the answers to everything. Let her go! His voice thundered, cutting through the chaos swirling around them. Caleb smirked, and for a fleeting moment, darkness clouded his features. You think you can control this, Elon? You're just a pawn, just like your father. The words struck like a knife. Elon's throat tightened. His father? Whispers from the shadows of his childhood echoed back. Tales of connection, of power. Suddenly, everything snapped into place. This wasn't just about him. It was generations tangled in a web of deceit. No! Derek shouted from behind, his voice co-sanguine between panic y determinación. You can't let him manipularte! Suddenly, the girl darted forward, a glimmer of bravery blazing in her eyes. I can't let you hurt him! She rushed towards Caleb. The moment was electric, crackling with raw emotion. Elon, do something! Derek cried. Elon gathered his strength, the world around him blurring in a haze. He surged forward, fueled by a fierce desire to protect what he now understood. The truth. Caleb gripped the girl tightly, preparing to pull her back. The dark silhouette of his face twisted with a sinister glee. Punto. But in that moment, something shifted. The air grew thick with tension, as if time itself slowed down. Elon reached out, fingers brushing against the device that had fallen to the ground, now within reach. A rush of clarity flooded his mind. This was the key. He snatched it up, feeling its cool surface pulse with energy. Caleb's eyes widened. No! You don't know what you're doing! Suddenly, chaos erupted as sirens blared in the distance. The crowd surged, terrified and desperate. People shrieked. Some turned to flee, while others tried to help, forming a wall of humanity around them. The darkness surrounding Caleb faltered, and memories flooded in for Elon, moments lost and forgotten. "Stop," the girl shouted with an unexpected authority. "You don't need to do this. We can change everything." A flicker of uncertainty danced in Caleb's eyes, and for a split second, Elon saw doubt. He snapped his head toward the girl, guiding the device up. "Maybe we can rewrite all of this, not just for you, but for everyone caught in this web." The crowd quieted, breaths held like strings in the air. Would they hear the truth? Would the weight shift in their favor? Galen's grip loosened, just a fraction, but it was enough. Elon surged forward, and in a heartbeat, he felt a surge de energía por la divase. Todo cayó en puestas. ¿Tú crees que se trata del poder?, clamó Elon. No, es sobre la gente. Como el despertador se subió con energía, todos sintieron un pulso de esperanza que en todas arruinados, sueños y nuevos ascendencias. Pero el equilibrio de su voz fue eclipsado por su incerteza. La niña levantó la cabeza, alta, grande. Estaba lista, standing firme. "Watch us." In that moment, everything snapped. Time exploded back into motion, bodies moving with purpose. Derek stepped beside Elon, and together they pushed through the surge of chaos, the girl among them, as they broke free toward the light, flooding the street. The sirens grew louder, but behind them lay what was left of darkness. Caleb's face, contorted in fury, a specter of what could have been. Breathless, Elon turned to the girl. "Are you okay?" She nodded, a spark of fire in her eyes. "We did it, but it's not over yet." As they stepped into the blinding light outside, a new dawn broke. The city shimmered with possibility, yet uncertainty still clung in the air. The shadows stretched longer behind them, a reminder that the game had just shifted. But for now, they had broken free. Elon took a deep breath, feeling hope bloom amidst fear. This was not the end. It was the beginning. And just before the scene faded into the distance, he turned to the people around him. "You have to subscribe now! Don't wait another second to join this journey! Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm! Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about what just happened. And please share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. We are all in this together, and it's time to take action!